Today, that being the 28th of February, is a very special day at the Cup of Chamomile office. It's the 3rd anniversary of this channel. Wait. What do you mean it's been 3 years? To celebrate, I always try to do something special. For the 1st anniversary, I talked about my channel's growth as well as future plans and the direction I wanted the channel to go in from that point. The following year, I did a process video of making the channel's current aesthetic and branding. Those 2 videos had already been set in stone as the anniversary specials, but this one was a little different. Originally, I was going to remake another old comic of mine and have this video that you're about to see be the 5,000 subscribers special. I reached 5,000 subscribers over the holiday season. But things happened and this became the 3rd anniversary video instead. I'm actually glad for that for a couple of reasons. While both topics are cohesive with what the channel is about, this video gives a more behind-the-scenes look into the Cup of Chamomile office, which tracks with the previous anniversary specials. And because I don't know what time management is, if I had chosen to go with my original idea, I would have had to draw a 12-page comic in 4 days. Some people on YouTube have done something like this, and I'm no stranger to a time crunch myself, but if I attempted something of this caliber, I would have gone clinically insane. And that's not mentioning how many hours of sleep would have gone down the drain. So having switched things up, I'm now here to show you what an average week is like at the Cup of Chamomile office. Sometimes it gets a little unhinged, but this week, like most weeks, was pretty normal. Even so, if you're new here and you want to see what typically goes on behind the scenes with this channel's one-man production crew, then make sure to like and subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, then welcome back to the spaghetti layer. Either way, strap your butts in, because here we go! Before I go into what this week was like though, let's first take a look at how we got here. Being either too ambitious or some sort of aspiring overachiever, or probably both, I was initially set on making this comic remake challenge thing work, and I spent the better part of 3 hours working on the new script. I'll go more in depth on this when the time comes to make that video, but the initial assignment when I made the original comic in 2018 was to keep it at a maximum of 6 pages. But as I was writing the script for the remake, 6 pages became 8 pages, and then when I tried to do the storyboards, which I didn't film, oops, 8 pages became 12 pages. And I couldn't have that without inevitably losing my mind. So I tried to get some sleep and figure out where to go from there. Emphasis on tried. I must have gotten the wrong tea blend on Sunday night because the caffeine didn't wear off until about 2 AM. So even though I wanted to wake up bright and early Monday morning, I instead spent more than an hour trying to rouse myself from the depths of my pasta dream-filled slumber. Then when I finally woke up, I decided to continue the daily cycle of me drinking enough caffeine to level 3 small towns by making my morning cup of coffee. I've been drinking a coffee and a tea, sometimes 2 coffees every day since who knows when, and honestly I really should cut back to like 1 coffee a day, because this is probably gonna be a very bad idea in the long run. More on this story as it develops. Then I set up the tasks I wanted to do for the day in my planner. As you can see, I crossed some stuff out since I wasn't going to need to work on those things anymore. But I'm also glad that I chose to switch gears that morning because the change in pace also allowed me to work on something else that was just as important. This is my webcomic. The first 2 sections of Chapter 1 are in Webtoon Canvas and Tapas as of writing this script, but the rest of Chapter 1 still has to be finished. Like, 3 months ago. For everyone who's read those 2 sections, please rest assured, she is coming back. When the webcomic does start updating again though, I want to go for a monthly release as opposed to every other week because that ladder uploading schedule thing was just not it. Try drawing a webcomic while juggling a YouTube channel at the same time. Or maybe that's just me and I have a skill issue. So after getting ready and making sure I didn't need to take care of anything else, I got to work. The first chapter is split into 14 different sections as I work on a 2,400 by 26,880 pixel canvas, or 7 combined pages of 2,400 by 3,840 pixels each when I'm working on my webcomic. Since it's in a vertical scrolling format, the large canvas makes it easier to plan out where the panels will go, and it gives me a better idea of what the finished product will look like as the reader, or myself, scrolls downward as opposed to working on, let's say, 2 pages at a time, which I was doing initially before I decided to make changes in my workflow. And this is something I briefly discussed in my second Webtoon production vlog. Fortunately, this section was about 75% done, which meant there wasn't much work left to do. So I worked for a couple of hours and then had some lunch. After that, I only had 3 or so panels left to finish. I had already done the flat colors for those panels a while ago, which just left the shading. Sometimes there will be panels that are essentially the same to illustrate an interruption in whatever was going on, or the passing of a moment in that same scene, things of that nature. In these kinds of scenarios, to make things a bit easier, I just copy and paste the shading layers while making the necessary adjustments. And since I typically work with 4 different shading layers while working on this webcomic, it's also a time saver. Admittedly, my motivation to finish this section was starting to drain by the time I got to rendering the last panel, but I was able to push through. There is one more adjustment that I have to make to that section, but that will require finishing one of the other panels in a different section of the chapter. Other than that, I finally finished the section that I wanted to work on. Yay! With that out of the way, I spent the next hour or so making soup for dinner. I cooked again later in the week, but Monday was especially dedicated to the soup. One tasty soup later, I spent the rest of the night working on the script for this video. Since I didn't really do anything else of note, I'll just finish off this part of the video with some footage of me writing the script. Unfortunately, I didn't get to film most of the day because it was kinda hectic. I had to take my mom to a doctor's appointment, actually 2 doctor's appointments, which meant I had to wake up very early, so that was fun, I guess. But the good news is we stopped by a restaurant to grab some pasta on the way back. And I grabbed the one and only spaghetti. Because most of the day was reserved for IRL things, that meant I only had a few hours to do some work, but I tried to make the most of that time. On Tuesday night, I spent some time working on the script for this video, and I also chose to tackle something else that was on my plate. I'm currently working on a height chart that I want to use for reference going forward when working on my webcomic, and I can neither confirm nor deny that it may show up in an upcoming collab that I'm doing. I'll try to keep the tea spillage to a minimum, even though these things probably don't come with NDAs, but you may see something resembling a time-lapse process of this height chart when the time comes for that. And it won't be the only thing you see from me for that collab specifically. By the way, speaking of collabs, this isn't the first time I'm doing something like this. Back in October, I had the opportunity to collaborate with a VTuber by the name of Opal Reflections, where we swapped sketches of our own characters and then finished each other's sketches, which was a lot of fun. Twitch doesn't save your streams for more than 2 weeks unless you pay money, I think. But the stream is available to watch on my YouTube channel, where you can check out how that collab went down on my end. I was also fortunate enough to be a part of Skynex's Art's 100 Tips from 100 Artists, which went up in November. My tip was a little more technical than everyone else's, but it's a very useful thing to keep in mind if you regularly have 50 layers on an art piece and you lose track of which layer is which. Definitely not like me, haha! Anyway, if my brain allows me, I'll be posting both of those videos in the description so you can check them out. Now, collabs aside, another reason I wanted to refurbish the height chart for my webcomic is because I already had a first version in the works where I just straight up copy-pasted the art from each character's individual character sheet into the first height chart. While something like this serves its purpose, it felt like things were a little too similar and also kind of cluttered because all of the characters were packed together. I didn't want that, so I'm redoing the whole thing. Starting, of course, with the main character Nadia, I did the sketch and also did maybe half of the line art. While I wanted to finish the line art before going to bed, the horrible sleep quality from Monday night caught up to me, and I knew I had to call it quits for the night. Wednesday was back to business as usual. After grabbing my usual coffee and setting up the tasks in my planner as always, I spent the morning working on the video script again. Then, after having some soup for lunch, I finished up my drawing of Nadia for the height chart. All I had to do was finish the other half of the line art and then get to the flat colors and the shading. I would say she took about 5 or 6 hours total. Also, in recent weeks, I've been doing some minor experimenting with my art style. I started removing the anti-aliasing for the line art, making the line art more reminiscent of what you would see in pixel art, while leaving everything else the same as usual. It is an experiment, but I really like it. The line art looks more crisp, and it also comes in handy when you want to use the bucket tool to fill things in. It's kinda like what I used to do during the MS Paint days when I was starting out with digital art, which was, wait a second. 17 years ago? Dear God, I'm getting old. Anyway, I think I'm just gonna leave it at that before I descend into madness. Okay, so I just finished Nadia. I probably have like 9 more to go for this height chart. Might split it into 2 depending on how I feel later, but other than that, she's done! Yay! Okay, it's break time, so I am going to try to make something tasty. I have shallots, eggplants, garlic, ginger, some curry paste, and a bunch of other stuff. Hopefully this comes out good, because if not, I am probably going to cry. Anyway, let's get cooking. For dinner, I decided to do a spin on the tropical curry from Stardew Valley, a game that I've spent an obscene amount of hours on. The recipe for the curry is also included in the game's official cookbook. Please sponsor me. I guess you could say my dish was more inspired by the tropical curry though, since I did make quite a few changes. I kept the pineapple, the coconut milk, the ginger, the potatoes, and the rice, but I took some things out like the hot peppers and the sweet potatoes, and I put beans, yams, and eggplants instead, and used a different curry paste than what the recipe in the cookbook calls for. I also switched out the thyme for a tiny bit of dried mint. I was a bit skeptical about how the pineapple would make the dish taste, but it was very delicious and the rest of the Cup of Chamomile household deemed it a success. For the record, I don't usually cook this much in a week, but we bought a lot of stuff at the grocery store over the weekend, and aside from the soup, I also wanted to make the curry before the produce went bad. At least we have enough food to tide us over for the next few days. But anyhow, I went back to work after dinner and some freshening up. Okay, so I am back to work. I'm gonna try and bang as much of this script out as I can. I have like 2 more sections that I want to finish, but I am low-key getting kinda super tired, and it's like past 10 p.m. So, chat, am I cooked? Even though I wanted to do some audio on Wednesday night, I instead got hit by the fatigue bus, my lack of quality sleep earlier in the week was still kicking my butt, and the need to write as much of the script as possible. But the good news is I was able to write everything I wanted to. That pretty much sums up what Wednesday night was like, so here is some keyboard ASMR. Again, because I don't know the concept of time management, the audio work and editing are usually relegated to this day. I've been doing my best to counteract this problem, but that mysterious art form is something that has evaded me for a long time. In any case, after I make some final edits and checks on the script, I just plug in my microphone before I start my audio work and then open Audacity before spending the next couple of hours on recording. Then I export it and spend the next few hours editing my videos in DaVinci Resolve. It can be a little finicky, but having used it for more than a year, I'm used to it by now. And I think it's a huge step up from iMovie, which I had been using prior to that. Fridays are reserved for the finishing touches and making sure everything is good to go, as well as thumbnail production. Then when all of that's done, I make all of the necessary preparations to upload it. My videos typically go up at 6 or 6:15 in the evening every other Friday, so I usually end up scheduling upload times for my videos. Lastly, once the video is uploaded, I typically take a breather for the night, celebrate, and then begin planning my next video. And that is what a typical week looks like at the Cup of Chamomile office. I still find it hard to believe it's been 3 years since this channel was launched. It feels like just last month I was sitting in my office thinking, hey, I watch videos on YouTube all the time, maybe I should start a channel. It's been a wild ride to say the least. Even though not all of it has been smooth sailing, the channel has grown a lot in the past year, and I'm very thankful for all of the support. I have a lot of fun things planned for the coming months, and I'm eager to see how this channel will grow over the next year. Unfortunately, I haven't decided on the 4th anniversary video yet. I haven't planned that far ahead, but I'll figure that out when the time comes. For now, however, that is going to do it for this video. If you like this video and you want to see more from me, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and tune in every other Friday for art-related videos and other quality shenanigans. If you want to support me further, please check out my other social media accounts as well as my Ko-fi and my Etsy shop, which are all in the description. And lastly, if you made it this far, leave a spaghetti emoji in the comment section below. And remember to keep things civil in the comments, or I will put a whoopee cushion in your chair when you least expect it. And yeah, that's about everything. Thanks for watching.